Today I'm taking a look at the newest right angle headlamp from Acebeam with the H16. It's a single emitter light with two available LED options in the AA or 14500 size format. The H16 shares a lot of design characteristics with the PokeLight AA that I've also reviewed on the channel last year. Same format, same battery, same emitter. Thanks to Acebeam for sending this one out to me to look at and review. Any discounts or deals that I have for this light will be posted in the description below, along with links to my social media accounts. Check them out. Here is the packaging that the light comes in. It's a white retail box with color photos, as you can see here. Not a lot of stats on the box itself, and I think that's okay. On the back, you just have details about the company itself, a few QR codes, and then on the side, just some applications where you might use the light. It comes with the light itself, obviously. You've got the pocket clip, 14500 battery that's inside that's got USB-C recharging on it. You get a manual, you get a couple extra O-rings, and then you get this nice head strap, which we'll talk about in a bit. Let's talk about the construction and design. The light is made from aluminum and is hard anodized in either a black or gray color. The black, which I have here, is the high CRI option, and it's only available as black. It's got markings on the head showing you that it is the high CRI model. The gray color model is exclusive to the color white option. The design characteristics are pretty similar with the PokeLight AA, as I mentioned before, with the really big difference being that the head is turned to a right angle and the button placement is different. No longer is it on top here at the end, it is part of the head. The tail cap here is flat and has quite a strong magnet. You can see I can stick it on my knife and I can jiggle it quite a bit here and it won't fall off. That magnet isn't glued in place and it does rattle a bit, making me think you could probably take it out if you wished. Threads here are smooth and nicely greased with an O-ring. The body tube has ribs that match what the PokeLight had. You've got two places for pocket clips here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The body is glued into the head here, although from other reviews I've read you can break it apart fairly easily with a little bit of heat and some torque application. The head has some milling in the back here for heat dissipation. Pretty standard stuff. You've got a flat bezel here with the glass lens coated, the glass lens restricted down in there, and you've got a smooth reflector. At the top here is the switch. It is an electronic switch, smooth button. It does sit ever so slightly proud, as you can see there. The user interface on this light is very simple with the electronic switch found at the top of the head here. You do have to long press to make it turn on, and it comes on in its ultra low, and then you just press and hold to have it cycle between low, medium, and high. Double press to go to turbo, triple press to go to strobe, and strobe is at a lower output. It's not at the turbo output, which is a little different, and it's a very slow SOS, and it is a single quick click to turn off. It's a simple user interface I think really anyone can understand. I'm not the biggest fan of the long press to turn on, but that's okay. And mechanical lockout here is super easy. Let me just get it on here, reasonable brightness. I can just turn the tail cap just ever so slightly, and that does break the connection. So let's talk about retention here. You've got two options. You've got the clip here that mounts in two positions. You've got it here at the top, and this is how probably I think most people will carry it, but you can pull it off and mount it here at the back for a deeper carry, and when doing that it does actually sit below the pocket line, so that might be helpful for some people, and you could always carry it upside down on a vest or something like that. With that being a dual direction pocket clip and dual mount options, it gives you a lot of options. The head strap itself does require that the pocket clip be removed, and it's a pretty tight fit on here. I'm not going to put it all the way on just because it is somewhat difficult, but you get the idea here. It's a one strap head strap. There's no center strap over the top here, but that is an option on the mount. So I'm guessing they're probably reusing this maybe, which is fine. It's a silicone mount and it is soft and comfortable. The headband itself is nice. You've got these reflective patches on there, and it does say Acebeam. It's stretchy. There are reports of other reviewers head straps having silicone straps to keep this mounted onto a helmet more, but as you can see, mine doesn't have that. For size and weight, I will just list what Acebeam says here, 71 grams. I didn't grab a measurement. I'll insert that one in the text here, but here are some pictures to show what it's like with other lights. You've got the PokeLight AA there, and then you've got the Workos FC11 as a reference point too. For LED and beam, the H16 I have here is running a Nichia 519a LED in neutral white. I measured this on my Opal meter at 4,912 Kelvin and 97.9 RA or CRI. It had no color cast in the DUV data, and the beam here is pretty floody with a large hot spot. Hopefully we can see that on the camera okay. Some still shots will also show that. It doesn't have a ton of spill, and I think that's okay here for the application. Most of the times you're going to be using this pretty close up. You're not going to be using it for long distances. There is some PWM here that I could measure on my meter when it's on high, but it's very fast and I can't see it with my eyes. Let's talk about the output here. Since this light is dual fuel, it'll run on both the included 14500 lithium ion battery or a nickel metal hydride like I've got here. I will give some output data for both here, but one thing to note here is the light is available with a different LED that's brighter if you wish to give up that neutral tint and high CRI. All measurements were taken at the 30-second mark according to FL1 standards, and in general the lithium ion battery I measured on my Texas Ace lumen tube, it was lower than what Acebeam claimed. If I had to guess, I'm guessing they're going to be listing startup times in their official data and not FL1 standards, despite what they might say. For my alkaline and nickel metal hydride tests, I used this Amazon Basics battery that I've got there in front of you. I found it to be a pretty good representation. Acebeam doesn't give official outputs for the use of the light with the alkaline or nickel metal hydride, and I think that's due to the extremely low outputs you get on the first three modes. The only one I really gave me solid data was medium at about 2 lumens, and then the light is really only useful, in my opinion, on turbo, as it steps down pretty quickly in under a minute, which we'll talk about in my runtime sections coming up. My advice would be to stick with the lithium ion battery that the light ships with, and really only use the AA or nickel metal hydride in an emergency situation where you're out of power. Just realize your output is going to be less as well as your run times. I have the Acebeam H16 headlamp here. This is running the Nichia 519a LED, and I've got it on in its lowest mode, Firefly Moon, I think they call it, 5 lumens or so. Very low amount of light, nice neutral tint. Bumping up, here is low. This is 30 lumens. Again, not a ton of light, but you can kind of get the idea of how much it is. Here is the real usable light, I'd call it. This is medium, rated for 100 lumens. And you can see the nice beam shape here. It's fairly evenly diffused. There isn't much of a hot spot, I'd say, but it's a nice beam pattern. Again, it's only 100 lumens, but it's that Nichia 519a LED, about 5,000 Kelvin, 90 CRI, very nice neutral tint. And here is high, 230 lumens it's rated for. You can see the end of my fence just well. And this is a small AA powered light. I am running it with the lithium ion battery. It can run on a nickel metal hydride or alkaline. You just get quite a bit less output and runtime. And then here is turbo. This is rated for 650 lumens for the first minute or so, and it will then step down. It's not too hot to touch right now. My runtime sections will go into runtimes a little better. It does, to the naked eye, it does reach the neighbor's fence, but really not beyond that. This is really for short-term usage, since it doesn't last very long. And here is the strobe mode, or SOS. This is one of the lower outputs. I would guess it's about medium at, roughly 100 lumens or so. There is no strobe, just this nice moonlight, just this nice SOS. Again, here is turbo, and I just like to note how nice the beam here, nice and neutral, and high CRI. It really makes the grass and the leaves and things here pop. For heat and runtime, I primarily focused on the heat and runtime with the 14500 battery, and that's where the light's really optimized and best. And turbo lasted for 2 minutes to complete the total step down to about 180 lumens, and it's staying above 500 lumens for the first 55 seconds. From here, it's a pretty steady decline, which looks to be somewhat unregulated. Peak heat was at 18 minutes at 48C on the exterior of the light, and high output is almost identical in runtime, with the only difference being a few more minutes of runtime. Medium, of course, lasts longer, as you can see in the graph. On the nickel metal hydride battery, the H16 has a pretty minimal output of less than a minute before stepping down to 35 lumens when in turbo, and that's only doing that from like 180 lumens to 35. It'll run at this place for 9 hours and 10 minutes and will continue to run past 24 hours then at sub-lumen outputs. And as I mentioned before, this isn't super effective. It's just not super useful light when it's that low. It's great if you're in pitch black environment, but in a lot of situations, you probably need a little bit more light than that. So recharging, the light itself does not have any recharging ports on it, but the battery here does have USB-C on the side. It's rated at 920 milliamp hours, and I tested it at 855 milliamp hours on my test. Pretty standard battery. Other than that, you've got button top cell here. It'll work with other batteries, no problem. There is reverse polarity protection in the light itself. I had no issues charging this via USB-C to C or PD, and charging here is about half a C, or about 0.45 amps for most of the charging time. Overall charging time on the light was 2 hours and 30 minutes, and the battery does go from a red LED to green when charged. Or the battery itself has low voltage protection built into it, starting at 3.103 volts and was full at 4.174 volts. The nickel metal hydride measured in at 1.23 volts when the light shut off, so there's low voltage protection built into the battery and the light itself, most likely. So my conclusion on the H16 fishing headlamp is it's a decent light if you're looking for a small form factor, neutral white, high CRI headlamp. Just be aware that it doesn't have the most output, nor can it sustain those larger numbers for very long. I don't think this is an issue, as you're going to use this up close for longer periods of time, and I think that fishing name kind of implies that. Fishing, you obviously want it to be dark, and you just want to be able to see what you're doing, and really not much more to scare away the fish. I would recommend this headlamp for someone in a specialized application that's looking for lightweight and where size is of high importance. I wouldn't recommend this light if you plan to run it with an AA or nickel metal hydride battery. Its performance and output runtimes just really isn't optimized for that, and it's much better with a lithium-ion battery. I'd only use the AA or nickel metal hydride in times of emergency when this is your only option. Keep in mind this does come with a different LED model too, where you're able to get up to 1,000 lumens on turbo if you're needing it for more output. So overall, a decent light with some caveats. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching this video, liking, subscribing to the channel, and all that good stuff, and I'll catch you on the next review. Thanks for watching.